Coming up on CHGO Cubs, presented by Toyota. The Cubs go winless in Tokyo. Seiya goes hitless in Japan. And Roki throws gas. And it wasn't a homer. Breakfast with the Boys, Part 2, next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by Toyota. Game 2 of the season and another loss. The Cubs lose 6-3 to the Dodgers in the finale of the Tokyo series. Good morning, everybody out there. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo with you. Sarah running the 1s and 2s. Everybody's up bright and early. And the Cubs will be going back to Arizona 0-2. This one a little bit different than Game 1, Cody, but it felt also the same at times. The first thing I want to ask you, right out of the gate, now that they are 0-2, which, frankly, we should have expected, it was the Dodgers, and they were facing Yamamoto and Roki. Now that these 2 games are over, do you feel any differently about your season outlook than you did before, even though it's just 2 games?
No. I don't feel any different as much. Actually, let's reverse a little bit. For the next week, you know that meme, the Bart Simpson meme, the chalkboard meme, where he just writes the same thing over and over? Yes. For the next week, I will be the Bart Simpson meme writing, it's just 2 games. It's just 2 games. It's just 2 games. I will be that meme for the next week because of course, it's incredibly frustrating. And yes, I know it's the Dodgers, but you had a chance to win yesterday. And then today, there were things that were better, but also, you still lost. And it's just frustrating. I only wanted 1 win. I was asking for a split, and you didn't get it. So my full season outlook hasn't changed. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. I had to wake up at 3:45 in the morning each of the last 2 days to watch this team play baseball, and it's just it's triggering because a lot of the same problems we saw last year were highlighted throughout these first 2 games.
Yes.
I won't say it was as bad as it was in the first game today, but whether it's Carson Kelly's pass ball or Michael Busch, not getting back to second base on that line drive hit by PCA when you had a rally perhaps starting, it triggers a lot of the frustration from last year, getting thrown out on the bases and just mental mistakes that makes you want to pull your hair out, man. But at the end of the day, it's just 2 games and you just played a juggernaut of a team. If the biggest thing that I took away from this series probably is that this Dodgers team is for sure better than last year. We didn't have to face Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman.
No, I know. That's what's unbelievable. Ugh, 2 top 10 players in the game didn't play for the other team, and they still looked significantly better than your squad did. Listen, you know what I kept thinking throughout this series, just 2 games? Could have been a Cub, could have been a Cub, could have been a Cub, could have been all the guys we were talking about over the last 2 years, hoping that they would be in a Cubs uniform. Mm-hmm. Ohtani, we dreamed, right?
Yep.
Yamamoto, we dreamed a little bit. Roki, we dreamed a little bit there.
Yep.
Kirby, we dreamed a little bit there.
Sure.
Tanner Scott. We dreamed a little bit there. I was just going through players where I was like, he went to the Dodgers. He went to the Dodgers. He went to the Dodgers. And this is what I will also say. While I think the Cubs are improved, and my win total in my head has not changed because of these 2 games. However, this also hasn't changed in my mind. The gap between the Dodgers and the Cubs is still the Grand Canyon. And yes, funny things can happen in a postseason if you get there in a series, yada, yada, yada. But if you have a significantly better team, it's a good chance you're going to win.
Yeah. And, the point on that I think a lot of fans and just me in general are making about how this Dodger team just looks even better. Again, like they didn't have Betts or Freeman, and you got Will Smith and Max Muncy in the middle of the lineup. I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, when they have Freeman and Betts in that lineup with those guys, with Ohtani, Tommy Edman hit a homer today. Like a lot of people will say it's unfair. I continue to just say I'm just jealous because.
Oh, it's jealousy.
It's
jealousy.
No,
there's no question. It's jealousy. They're not.
I would
doing
love to be
wrong.
I would, if I was a Dodgers fan, I'd just be super excited. You remember when Max Muncy failed to catch that ball, and then in third base foul territory, and then he was pissed about it.
Yeah,
and then the Dodger fan caught it, and he just didn't even really care. Like, it's kind of like that. That guy doesn't care if they win or lose that game. They know they're going to win 100 games this year.
I'm just thankful it wasn't Bleacher Jeff. Because it would have caused all kinds of trouble out there. Hi to everybody in the live YouTube chat. We appreciate you waking up with us this morning, watching Cubs baseball, hanging out. It's the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience. If you're new to CHGO and CHGO Cubs, give us a chance on YouTube. Watch the show live with us. Get in the live YouTube chat. You're part of the show as much as we're part of the show. But we also appreciate the podcast listens during the day. Either way, give us the like or the thumbs up or the positive review. We appreciate the positive feedback. If you have negative feedback, keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Listen, shall we just get all the negative out of the way? Because I think we're all frustrated. I think there are good things to take away from not just this game, but just the entire series, the 2-game series, in terms of long-term related stuff. But
frustrating is the offense.
Yes.
Right out of the gate.
Yes.
Offense.
Yeah. How many guys did they leave on base today?
I don't know what the number ended up being. I just know that Roki, while watching him, I wished he was a Cub. At the same time, they had opportunities to do damage against him because he was wild, and they didn't do enough with it. And that was the game.
Yeah, Roki ended up walking 5 guys.
Yeah.
In his 3 innings, and he only allowed 1 hit. And I think that's, it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with Shota yesterday. He didn't allow a hit, but he walked 4 guys, Yeah. So the Dodgers were unable to kind of capitalize on certain moments against Shota. It's a lot of the same against Roki today, except I think the Cubs had more. They had more chances than the Dodgers did against Shota. And I mentioned already, it was Bush walk, Shaw walked as well, and then PCA hits the line out. I think that's how it transpired, and he hits the liner to short, and it's caught, and Bush doesn't get back to second.
Yeah,
that was such a demoralizing moment because you felt like you had something cooking, and it was a close game at the time. Like you felt like you were right there, and they were giving really good at bats against Roki. They were laying off so many pitches, and he was struggling with command, obviously, so that helps. But that moment felt really demoralizing early in the game. But that, to me, like when they didn't score that inning, it felt like, okay, I've seen this movie before.
I'm happy for the people of Japan that got to experience it, the Cubs fans that got to go over there and experience it. Listen, pitching was the story of the series as much as bad offense was. You had 4-star pitchers go out there, and Shota, no runs, no hits. Yamamoto, 1 run. Roki, 1 run. And no, they didn't pitch 7 or 8 innings, but you got to see what all of those guys can do. Steele wasn't terrible. You can't give up that 2-run homer. I'm sure he would say that. And he wasn't perfect. But considering how his last start went in spring training, and this is early, and he had the flu before that, okay, it's the first start of the season. Let's be honest. As bad as 0-2 feels after everybody's waking up early, sleepy-eyed, rubbing their eyes to watch the first 2 baseball games of the season, the Cubs lose both of them, and the offense is kind of meh. It's a better start than last year where your ace was hurt on opening day.
That's fair.
It could be worse. It could be last year, and Justin Steele could be on the shelf.
That's fair. Just to correct myself, the bottom of the second inning, Bush walked, Shaw lined out, and then Bush stole second, and then Swanson walked, and then PCA hit that. He lined into a double play. Anyway, yeah, no, you. That's a good perspective to look at it, I guess, in terms of like things could be worse. At least you're leaving Japan and everyone is healthy.
I don't. Williams like, what? Steele was awful. It's the first start of the season against a really good lineup that didn't have two great players. Was he great? No, but he got blasted in his spring training, and he had to scratch his last start before that. What did I say yesterday? If Steele gives up 5 runs, I'm not going to be as disappointed as I will be if the offense doesn't score some runs tomorrow against a guy making his major league debut. And I still feel that way. I see Steven has given us a super chat here on CHGO Cubs presented by Toyota.
Here,
first, Robert, Hurt by Johnny Cash is the theme song of the 2025 Cubs. And then for $2, the real winning season is the friends we made along the way. And Steven, who's been super chatting us for this series, they were motivated to win. The Cubs weren't. You can't convince me otherwise. I hope they enjoyed eating nice foods and the culture. Steven's not happy. Steven's not happy with this.
I get not being happy, but I think anyone who ever says that they weren't motivated or that they didn't care, I just think that's lazy.
I think, well, I don't know about
that they don't care at least.
I don't believe the motivated part, Steven. I will say this. They answered the question, and we'll talk about it later. They didn't let Seiya just play right field.
Yeah.
They didn't just do the nice, courteous thing to give the fans something to watch. So, these were tough. I will say this: 2 tough home games.
Yeah, yeah,
2 tough home games against the Dodgers.
Related to Steele, I mean, I think what frustrates me about Steele's outing is the long balls, because he's been a guy who hasn't, like, he's become known as someone who keeps the ball in the ballpark.
2 homers, right?
2 homers. Tommy Edman and Kike Hernandez. And Kike Hernandez home run shouldn't have been a home run. Kike Hernandez should have been striking out looking 2 pitches before he allowed that homer, but whatever. Ball strikes system, we need it like we need oxygen at this point. But he still gave up the homer, and so that is what it is. But yeah, that if there's any concern for me with Justin Steele, it's that he gave up 2 homers, and that's just something that he doesn't do. If you look at how many homers he gives up, he's given up the last couple years. He's been below 15 for the entire season, and there's 2 on the sheet for 2025, and so I don't know, man.
I would have hoped for a better result with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. Like I was pretty optimistic, thinking they might get 1, but realistically in my head, I was like, this is 2 losses to start the season. But with no Mookie Betts and no Freddie Freeman, you would hope that the offense would have put up a better effort than they did. People will look at it 2 ways. You can be disappointed and also realize there's 160 more games to play, and they could have a great offense this season. They could. If you're just basing it on the 2 games we watched and the off season that we just had and the season before that, you can also look at it and say, still feels like they're a bat short. Now, that can change with a big season from PCA. That could change if Michael Busch has a big season. That could change if Tucker has an MVP-type season. That could change if Seiya stays healthy and delivers. But it does feel like they could be a bat short. Very small sample size, I understand that. So I'm not panicked over it. Cubs Twitter is in just, they don't know what to do with themselves. People are either, this means nothing or this means everything. It's one way or the other.
And everyone looks at everything as if it's black or white.
That's right.
It's just not like that.
But that's Twitter
at this point in the season. It's just not like that. You know, like, I think it's fair to have some frustrations. Yes, we saw some things these first 2 days of the season, and they were alarmingly familiar. Whether it's, Michael Busch being thrown out, or not thrown out, but caught in between second and third and not getting back to first or getting back to second base on that line out. Or
the birdie error in game one.
The birdie error in game one. Carson Kelly passed ball. Like these are mental mistakes, and that if you're trying to win on the margins, you can't do. So
especially against the Dodgers.
To push back a little bit on what you're saying about the Dodgers not having Freeman and Betts in this game, or just in the series, to me it's not even really about that in terms of the Cubs offense showing up. It's more about just you didn't have to face the Dodgers' best relievers today, and you actually had good at bats against Roki. So 3 runs is more than yesterday, baby steps, but we can certainly sit here and say they should have had more. They were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They left 11 guys on base. But at the same time, like, they had a couple 2-out hits that scored them a run in multiple innings. Dansby hitting that double that after Shaw got his first career hit. That came out of nowhere. Kelly and Birdie back-to-back, I think they both got hits, and then Happ drove Carson Kelly in the inning before. It's like it was very unfamiliar in a way too, because we know how much they struggled last year with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
So if you want me to have any kind of, I guess, good feeling, I mean, there was 3 consecutive innings of that. So they actually did kind of hit with 2 outs at least, but they didn't hit when they had like the opportunity to really drive in more than 1 run. And that, to me, that's what I feel frustrated about this game the most.
More on this loss in a second here on CHGO Cubs presented by Toyota. But first, a word from our sponsors. Light beer just got better. Introducing Sam Adams American Light. It's clean, it's crisp, it's super easy to drink. No gimmicks, no fluff. Hey, we got tourney time. Baseball is back. This is the time for you to try a Sam Adams American Light or two. Not your average light beer. It's brewed with 100% American-sourced ingredients from local independent farmers. Light beer that's made right. You know, it's not so heavy. Who wants to feel bloated after 3 sips of a beer? Not me. Light beer shouldn't feel like a compromise, and an American classic so smooth, you're going to want to crack open another one. It's always Sam season. Light beer just got better. Grab some Sam Adams American Light. Available now at select Chicago retailers. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Bet365 is live in Illinois. Luke, I saw you were trying to sign up earlier. I had to give you some
I will do it as soon as I get home today. Plenty of time to do it now.
You were having some technology issues. Anyway, they've got a boost. I was
just half awake, that's all.
They have a super boost on the tournament that starts on Thursday. You don't want to miss it because it's literally free money. They boosted 1 point to be scored in the first game of the tournament on Thursday to plus 100. Yep, you heard that right. 1 point to be scored boosted to plus 100, which means it's a max of $50. So if you bet $50 on that, and if a point is scored in the very first game of the tournament on Thursday, you will win immediately, and you will turn $50 into $100. And that, I mean, if you ever had a basketball game not finish or have no points in it, Luke?
Sure.
No,
the roof has to leak, basically.
Right. They have to cancel the game, right? So it's a really great offer once you sign up. Plus, if you use code CHGO365, deposit $10, make a $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets immediately as
What's the code again?
CHGO365.
Boom.
CHGO365, all right? So they have an early payout offer. For baseball, if you considered betting the Dodgers today, you would have won pretty quickly, because if your team gets ahead by 5 runs, it's an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections as winners. So sometimes baseball can get a little wacky, and if you use that promo, you can win early. So download the app now and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, new customers, again, get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up and use that code CHGO365 and deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. All right, must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be assessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
Cubs lose 6-3, start the season 0-2. Now they head back to Arizona to finish up spring training before they go to Arizona. We'll talk about that coming up later in the show. We mentioned Justin Steele. He also didn't get any help. And okay, the home run.
We made it one segment without actually talking about it.
Let's talk about the home run.
The home run.
I would be upset if the Cubs lost 6-5. But because they did not, I'm happy for the people in Japan that got to watch Ohtani hit a home run in this game. If that's a home run, then Kyle Tucker's ball off the wall is a home run. That should not have been a home run, but again, it didn't decide the game. I'm willing to admit it made a lot of people happy. I would suggest it was the wrong call.
It was the wrong call. No, you don't have to suggest it. It was the wrong call, Luke.
I know it was the wrong call. There's a lot of people that are happy. Whatever. It didn't decide the game. But if it would have been 6-5, there would have been fire and brimstone coming on this podcast.
Well, listen, when, like I said earlier, with Steele giving up the homer to Kike Hernandez, before he gave up the homer, he had him on strikes, and the umpire missed the call. So if you take away that 2-run homer and you take away Ohtani's homer, it's a 3-3 game, and perhaps we're in extra innings and you're just exhausted, and we're not starting the show yet.
So is this a conspiracy theory that this whole thing was fixed?
No, I'm not saying.
We're not going that far.
I'm just saying that a few bad calls kind of led to this in a way. The Cubs got to score more runs. Steele can't go on to give up the homer to Kike Hernandez, right? But the Ohtani homer, it only kind of just makes me feel even more about how this series should have just been an exhibition. It should have never counted. You're going to allow the home run just because you're in Japan?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. Ohtani was so confident that he went back to the dugout and celebrated there. Tucker was so confident that immediately was like, don't even go after that ball. That's a double.
Yeah.
I think in the review, it looked pretty clear to me. The fan reached over and the ball was well in front of the yellow line. There could have been a different angle that we didn't see. It sure looked to me like a double.
Yeah. No, to me, there's no real argument against it.
Mark Carmen says, yes, fixed. Game fixed.
I think that if they're going to call that a home run just because you're in Japan and it's the Tokyo series and this, it's like, it gives me like NBA All-Star game vibes.
Yeah.
Whenever that's the reason that we're going to do this.
Or home run derby. Good enough.
Yeah.
Call it before it even goes out.
These games mattered, man. Like, it's just.
Ivy says, let's just pretend it was an exhibition.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do for the next week. So
it was fun. The food looked great.
Those long fries.
The long French fries. I still don't understand. How do you do that? Like, are they growing like 14-inch regular russet potatoes in Japan? I don't get it.
I don't know. Maybe Steven can give us some information since he knows Japan so well.
Did he have another super chat, Steven? I think Steven did. Another super chat from Steven. I should have said they had more incentive to win this series. The Cubs still have 160 left, but they did not look great at all this series. That's fair.
That's fair.
Robert says for $2, hitting takes rhythm and time. We will be fine.
I like that optimistic look. I think what Steven said, when it comes to what you're saying about earlier about fans being upset or just kind of like calm down, like these are what these two super chats we just showed. Like those are fair, fair outlooks.
I don't even know if the Dodgers had more incentive to win this series.
Yeah, they just won the World Series. Like
they could have lost. Both teams want to win. It's the start of the season.
They could have lost both games, and Ohtani had a huge series somehow. And I feel like the people in Japan would have been happy.
Freddie Freeman, I thought he was going to play today, and all of a sudden he was scratched again. Yeah. Mookie Betts didn't fight through it like it was Game 7 of the World Series. You said, hey, I'm puking, I'm out.
I'm pretty sure Mookie Betts isn't even in Japan.
Yeah, not anymore. He was. Yeah,
but they sent him back.
He wasn't. Anyway, so I'm talking about incentive. Like, Okay, 2 of their stars were like, nah, we're out. We're not feeling right.
Based on how things have gone the last 7 years with the Cubs, it's every game matters. And because of how the last 2 seasons have gone, I feel like as fans, we just feel like they're even more important than maybe we would have thought in years past. And you look at this team and you see the pros and the cons and the concerns and, you know, the things that we're optimistic about. And it's like, what do we got to do to find some consistency, and what do we got to do to get to that 88 to 90 win mark? And all I know is that they got to be better on the margins at the very least. So there's a lot of things to complain about. There's a lot of things to at least be optimistic about too. That's where I'm at, truthfully.
Well, the world was treated to what many around the globe are now calling the John Birdie series. For better or for worse.
The
first game, the air, people didn't want him in the lineup. People said, get him out. I said, play Workman today.
You did say that.
I said, play Workman today. And then John Birdie.
He said, hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Here's 3 base hits.
And he had a
run, a stolen base, and an air he had.
And he helped to turn 2 double plays, and he had a great defensive play going to the first base side in the 8th inning, I think, to help Porter Hodge out. He had a much better game today than he did at game 1.
That's the flip side, is what Wrigley Man 1 is saying in our live YouTube chat. Anybody else ticked off that Birdie had the most hits?
Yeah.
Well, that sums up the problem with the offense in 2 games. Yeah. They had really good pitch. They had exceptional starting pitchers. Roki had control problems, but you can't deny when the kid's throwing 100 in his first 2 pitches, and the slowest pitch he threw, the slowest fastball he threw in his first inning in the major leagues was 98.9. Mm-hmm. And the splitter is disgusting. Yeah. I thought it was fake when he threw it the first time. I was like, what is that? He just went from 100 to what was that? Like 80 something?
I don't remember what it was.
It was unbelievable. Splitter. It was like, it looked like a video game being thrown out there. So when he does have control, that is going to be absolutely nasty. And we know that their bullpen's great. They signed all the best relievers. Mm-hmm. And it was already not that bad.
While also having really good relievers anyway.
Yeah, already having really good relievers. Then they went out and were like, yeah, we'll take that guy and that guy.
The relievers they used today, I believe they were all homegrown guys. I'm pretty sure, outside of Yates. So
Rally Cap and Standing says, getting a Birdie jersey right now. Why not?
I don't know, man. But
are you worried at all about Steele?
No, I'm not worried about
Steele. I'm not either.
Yeah. I just think that what you're saying about Steele, he was objectively not good today. But
I think that's fair. I'm just saying he wasn't so awful like we saw in spring training, where I was like, oh, something's wrong. There wasn't like a massive velocity drop or something that left me super concerned about everything. It wasn't. Like you said, one call sort of changed things, and then he didn't pitch incredibly well. No, he didn't pitch well. But I'm not worried about him. We've talked about regression. Possibly for Steele and Imanaga, I didn't see anything really in the first 2 games where I'm searching for a panic button over Steele and Imanaga. I'm not.
I think more fans are going to go into stateside opening day with more optimism about Shota than Steele based off what we saw in these 2 games.
Sure, but he's not. Again, he's not on the injured list.
Yeah.
That allows him to bounce back in the next start.
Yeah, and that's why I felt pretty good going with him today, because of how bad he was in the last spring start. But, you know, this situation is interesting. You know, it's different. You know, technically still in spring training, but playing 2 games that matter because you're in the Tokyo series this year. Like I said in the first segment, the 2 homers are what concerns me the most, because the guy isn't someone who's been giving up bombs.
Yeah.
Shota gave up, I think we said it last week, 27 bombs last year. Steele gave up 14, I believe. Someone can correct me.
Now, he was hurt early in the season, so the number's a little bit lower than it probably would have been if he pitched a whole season, but yeah.
Well, this season before, I think he had less than that.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's what the pro about him is, that he just doesn't give up a lot of barrels.
Justin Steele's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
Justin Steele's going to be fine. Shota's going to be fine. We're going to talk more Cubs baseball in a second. The season's underway. The Cubs are 0-2, but they're headed back to Arizona. But first, a word from our sponsors, Cody.
One way that you guys can get by the next week is Sunnyside, right? Their dispensary is home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. They have everything you need to elevate your summer, Luke. They're Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city, in Wrigleyville, right by beautiful historic Wrigley Field, and in River North. They go all the way to the suburbs, even go all the way down to Champaign and up to South Beloit. So if you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands they know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. If you're a pro, they got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added daily, right? They know that you'll love Cresco and Florical's incredible quality and consistent products as well. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
Get more power to you during Dodge Performance Days at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. Now's your chance to score a great deal on your next vehicle. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. And right now, lease the new 2024 Dodge Charger Daytona for only $259 a month, or get 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With a friendly team of brand experts, the team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. Plus, since they prioritize affordability, you know they won't overpay for the vehicle you need. And with Ray's price promise, you can shop confidently with no add-ons, no hidden fees ever. The price you see is the price you pay. It's that simple. Go check out our partner today to shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories. Find the right vehicle for you, then drive home happy. The team at Ray CDJR is the only one we recommend. Don't miss out on Dodge Performance Days going on all month long. For now, low lease and financing rates on the new 2024 Dodge Charger. For more information, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online, raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
I tweeted the highlight of Kyle Tucker hitting that ball off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the comments is, wall interference, shake my head. And the caption is, should have been a homer.
Right. I tweeted right away. Is that a home run?
Yeah.
Are we calling that a home run, everybody? I don't know.
Shall we talk about some of the the positive things, I guess?
Shaw got a hit.
That you don't think should be a hit.
Well, it was an error.
Yeah.
It was an error. Like, that was also a bad call. Happy for Matt Shaw. I'm a little disappointed for him that he's got to remember his first hit as a ball off the middle of the glove of the pitcher in Japan, but that's,
Well,
at least the ball he got will be slightly,
I think he'll more so remember the fact that he got on base and then he scored.
Yeah.
Because Dansby hit that double right after. And I only say that because that just kind of gives off the type of player that he perceives it to be. His at-bats continue to be, in 2 games that matter, his at-bats for sure weren't exactly encouraging. I thought he hit one hard in his very first at-bat yesterday. Today, okay, got the hit. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I do think that fielding your position from a pitcher standpoint is not easy at all.
I'll be honest, I didn't see the exit velo on it, but it sort of just looked like a chopper that rolled out of the guy's glove.
Right.
But
so I'll just say that it's good that he got that little monkey off his back, scored, he helped the team put a run up on the board. It's for him early in his career right now, it's little things like that that help build confidence and help make you feel like you're helping the team in some sort of way. And his defense today was probably the biggest thing. He had multiple really nice defensive plays.
He did.
Like I think it was the 8th inning, he had a diving play and threw someone out. I think it was the 8th inning. It was either the 7th or 8th inning. And then earlier in the game, he had one that was more so towards the shortstop area, I guess you could say. I don't know how they were aligned, but he gloved it, spun, and threw the guy out at first. And it wasn't like a magnificent play or anything, but it was one of those that guys who don't play third base well don't always make. And to see him make a play like that, I think the defense for sure was something that you can take away from Matt Shaw today as a positive. I think that's the biggest thing for him, at least for me. But the at-bats, you're gonna need to give him time.
Well, there's no second guessing on the, like, I'm not saying the oblique was an issue. He shouldn't have been out there. I'm glad he made the trip. I'm glad he got the experience. Glad we got to see him at the plate.
He looked healthy.
After 2 games at the plate, and I saw somebody in the chat say in the postgame already that Counsell said Shaw didn't swing the bat well this series, and that could be said for a lot of guys in this series, including Seiya. Watching his first 2 games at the plate reminded me of PCA. The first couple times he came to the plate in the major leagues, he was clearly fooled on some pitches where you're like, ooh, he was completely baffled by that. So I would agree with that. If Counsell did say that, I would agree with that analysis. Just with the eyeball test of the average human, he didn't look super comfortable at the plate, and that can be easily explained by this is his first 2 games in the big leagues. They happened in Japan. He tried to ramp up super fast because of the oblique, and he's going to go through this. Don't expect Matt Shaw, because he hit great in the minor leagues, to come up and just be Pete Rose out there. He's not going to be, or Tony Gwynn, or Ohtani, whoever you want to put out there. He's going to go through a roller coaster ride as a rookie at the plate more than anything.
I guess the only thing, if you want me to pinpoint some sort of frustration towards this conversation, is it's surprising that Counsell's put him up in like the 5-hole the first 2 games to me. And
yeah, William Workman just said that too in the chat, and I would agree with both of you.
It is a little like, why are we putting him in the 5-hole? I do think when Horner comes back, he'll probably be like, Dansby might move up to 5 and Horner could be 6, or vice versa, based off what this lineup is right now, right? Or, you could move Seiya and Tucker down one. I don't necessarily support that, but there's all kinds of different.
I'd like to see PCA and Shaw back to back.
Yeah.
However you want to mix that. That's what I would like to see. But it's very
I
early.
Also think, though, that maybe Counsell or whoever on that coaching staff feels way better than what I'm saying we should expect right now for him if they're going to put him in the 5-hole. They consistently put PCA at the bottom of the lineup last year. Even when he got hot, they didn't move him from, I think he got as high as maybe 7 last season whenever he got hot in August. But to me, it's interesting that they put him in the 5-hole these first 2 games, and it'll be interesting to see how they do that moving forward just based off these 2 games. He played well. He was playing well in Arizona in the week that he got. But obviously the Dodgers are the Dodgers, and also these games matter, and there's just it's just different. So I think they have a lot of confidence. To me, it sounds like, if they're putting him in the 5-hole, but based off these 2 games, I think maybe even the Cubs need to slow their roll a little bit. Maybe just put him down in a less pressure situation. I'm not saying that I don't believe in him or anything like that. I think you got to start him down lower in the lineup and go from there. I think that might benefit him.
But remember the end of last season when everybody was clamoring, we want to see Shaw, we want Shaw. There was still a fraction of fans that said, can he play third base? Mm-hmm. Then he played for Team USA, and we saw some pretty good plays. And there was a coach there that, one of the great defensive coaches, and he was like, I have no concerns about him playing third base. it's 2 games and some spring training games, I would agree that I think he's going to be able to play third base just fine. And again, small sample size. But the thing that usually is the harder part is trying to hit major league pitching. And he just had to try and hit 2 of the best pitchers in baseball. So I'm not surprised he struck out a couple times. I'm not surprised a couple times he was fooled on pitches and you were like, oh, he didn't see that at all. That's part of it. I have no reservations about him being the third baseman early in the season. I also have no problem with Workman getting some play at third. You know, if he needs to sit if he struggles for a long stretch, which very easily could happen because that's what happens to rookies, especially rookies that have had a shortened spring training.
Yeah. Yeah. The Workman thing is interesting on third base just because he didn't play in the series at all.
Yeah.
Even Brujan came in to pinch run. And right now, it does feel like it's like maybe John Birdie plays some third base behind him when Horner comes back. But if Horner's out, then we know Birdie's going to play second. That's what they're showing. So I'll be very intrigued to see how if Workman makes the full team whenever they have to. I think they still have to make more cuts.
Yeah.
Right? Like if he makes the team, it'll be interesting to see how they use him. But I think lefty righty split, platoon, I guess you could call it, is interesting.
Excuse me.
But it's not like they were in a rush to try and get Workman any work out there in Tokyo either.
Listen, I just hope that nobody out there, Greg Braggs in particular, who gave up on PCA, I hope nobody's giving up on Matt Shaw over 2 games overseas in Japan. Like, don't get down on the guy. Every former player that has seen him is excited about what he can be. Even Cody Bellinger, when he left the team, has been asked about him, is like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he could be this year because I've seen firsthand the skill. So
I think
there's still.
Yesterday after the game, there was a lot of discourse about him being able to play third base defensively. I think he at least showed that he can glove it.
I think he'll be right.
Not as well as anyone, but he can glove it at least a average to above average level. Will I say that the arm strength over to third has me a little concerned? Even on some of those nice plays, Bush had to stretch out for one, and I think
he bounced the one over, but again, he rushed himself more than he needed to.
Right. Well, from what happened yesterday, but today Bush had to stretch on one. I think the other one Bush actually picked. So
yeah,
I think you need to see a better arm from Shaw throwing over to third moving forward. But as far as gloving it, it's night and day if you compare it to Christopher Morel.
Yeah, that some folks in the chat are saying he needs more at-bats at AAA or Workman needs to play there. I listen, that's to me those are panics. Yeah. I'm not ready to go there. I'm ready to let him go through some struggles like any rookie would over at third base. And if you need to make that adjustment later in the season, okay.
Well, Workman's also a rookie.
Correct.
So he will do the same thing.
I think if there were 3, this is a guess. I believe if this were a 3-game series, I think Workman would have started third in game 3. Or he would have, they would have mixed it up already. But just based on counsel saying he didn't swing the bat very well, I think they would have given Workman a start at third. Not because it's going to be a straight platoon or anything like that. I just think they probably would have wanted Workman to get a swing and get in there. And if it were a 3-game series, it's not. It's awkward. Now we go back and they don't play till the 27th?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Thursday. It's a whole week before we find out what's really going on. We're going to talk more about what's lying ahead for the Cubs, by the way, after this 0-2 start in a second. But first, our friends at Shady Rays are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Their sunglasses have durable frames and crystal clear optics making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. With so many colors available, you'll find a pair that's perfect for you. I've seen them in Cubby colors, just saying. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by their lost or broken replacement program. If you don't love your shades, exchange them for a new pair or return them worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. So, CHGO viewers and listeners, pay attention. Go to ShadyRays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with the code CHGO. That's right, CHGO. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars, so use that code CHGO today at ShadyRays.com. You want to be a vibe for the summer? Get yourself some Shady Rays.
Absolutely. Life's been a little crazy lately with the Cubs being very annoying the first 18 innings of the season. But one thing that helps me unwind, Luke, is Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. All right, if you've been looking for a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort, the CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp are formulated to work with your body, not against it. I'm not as young as I once was, neither is Luke. But I care, and so does Luke, care about maintaining my physical and mental wellness. Luke, you tell me all the time about that. All right.
Mental wellness?
Yeah, and your for sure your physical wellness as well. All right.
That's right. What are you talking about?
Their CBD gummies are a huge piece of our wellness plan that we talk about. All right. Have you tried everything under the sun for the peace of mind? It sounds like it's time for you to try Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. If you haven't, all right, some of the things about them, all right. Like I said, they are formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. The last couple days, with our schedule being different, because of
our schedule's been different.
The 5 a.m. the 5 a.m. first pitches.
The morning sun is blasting in off of Cody's cheek right now.
I'm not someone who can just go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. These could help me go back to sleep, even though I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. All right. So it really does help if you have problems sleeping, or if you just have a lot of stress, stuff like that. So you have to give it a shot. Right now, they're offering CHGO listeners 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use promo code CHGO at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for 30% off your first order. This is the good life.
Jake Hazen in the live YouTube chat says, Tucker swings at a 3-0 pitch, but don't worry, Japan has good French fries. Ron saved $75 on his Shady Rays with the code CHGO.
Nice.
Very nice. And DJ Rick says, biggest bust was Sam. So many chances to drive in runs. Saya's series was disappointing, obviously. Nobody's more disappointed than he is to return back to Japan and go over.
Right.
He did have some opportunities to make a nice impact on the game, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but
what was good pitching is one thing.
Yeah. Well, there's also just like there were some pitches that he fouled off that were like right there in the middle of the plate, and he just didn't do anything with it. He would foul them off or miss. And I think it goes into the discourse related to, when we talked about routine with Ben Zobrist. Like these guys, they were playing well in Arizona, all across the board. They get on a plane, 14-hour trip, do all these different things. They get out of their routine, and you find your offense at a point where it's almost like they're jet lagged for the last handful of days. And it's not even like their offense was playing that well in the 2 exhibition games either. So this is not an excuse. I'm just saying that it is frustrating that these games counted, in my opinion. I really don't think that these games should have counted.
Games against the Dodgers should not count.
Fair enough.
That's one way we could solve it. We talked to Ben Zobrist about the pressure of something, whether it's a contract or whether it's going back to Japan to play these games. Roki lived up to the hype. Ohtani lived up to the hype. Yamamoto lived up to the hype. Shohei lived up to the hype. Seiya struggled. Is it because of the pressure? I can't say that. Could be just be baseball. Guy went 0 for a series. That happens all the time. It's 2 games. It's just such a small sample size. I can't say that it was the pressure or he was distracted or anything. That's baseball's a game full of failure. I'm surprised, really, that the other guys all did really well. I think you saw some of the nerves in Roki, even though his final line was good, right?
No.
What was it, 5 walks?
He walked 5 guys.
Yeah. So I could easily say that maybe the pressure or the anxiety of first major league start, especially in Japan, he was probably feeling it. He was probably a little over amped.
I wouldn't say that
but he was still good.
I wouldn't say that Roki lived up to the hype. I would just say that the potential was shown.
Oh,
if you're touching 98 to 102 easy on a consistent basis, that'll raise an eyebrow, and that will only intensify why people were talking about you over the last year, especially since the World Baseball Classic. So, yeah, he definitely showed
was nasty. He walked 5 guys. Okay, major league debut. I'd take it.
Sure, I guess.
Right, I would.
Yeah. I just don't think that
I
don't think it was
to say
as
that
impressive.
He sucked. I can't go that far.
I'm not saying that he sucked. I'm just saying that
somebody
it
in the
wasn't
chat,
that
Everett
impressive.
just said Sasaki sucked. I'm like, listen, I cannot go that far. Everything I saw of him, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I think Ron says it, like, no home runs, big factor. Even though he did walk 5 guys, when he did make mistakes in the zone, no one did anything with him. And so while I'm sitting here complaining about Seiya not being able to do that and a handful of other guys not being able to do that, I think you have to also give credit to the stuff that a guy like Roki Sasaki has. And it also goes back to what I was saying about, when Seiya is missing, his timing isn't perfect. And so those pitches in the middle of the zone or around the zone, and he's fouling them off instead of putting them in play and hitting them hard, it goes back to my thinking of, their timing is just not there. And so it goes back to routine, not being in, not doing what you were doing in Arizona because you're out of your routine. Sure, they probably had plenty of time to get ready for these 2 games. I'm not saying that they weren't ready to play these 2 games. I'm just saying that this series in particular, if you're going to do this, I just don't think it should count. If you're going to do it in spring training, I just don't think they should count.
I just don't know that there's a perfect way to do it, and I get what they're trying to do, expand,
global, all that.
The global view of the game. I understand that. They had 5 Japanese-born players in the series, which made the matchup an obvious one. I did watch Roki and think to myself, can you imagine how much better the Cubs rotation, how much better you would feel about the Cubs going into this season if they had acquired Roki? If they had acquired Roki, I would have been all about spending extra cash. Again, I'm not super sad that they didn't get Bregman, even though it may turn out to be a terrible decision. But if they had Roki, I'd be looking at this Cubs team right now. Not that I'm not optimistic. I am optimistic. I think they're going to win the division. But Roki in that rotation, you look at him with Steele and Imanaga and Tyone and Boyd, and then Ben Brown and all the other, that would have been an impressive get. So when we view out and zoom out and look at the offseason and say, what grade are you giving? I was happy about the offseason. Yes, there was a pipe dream for me for Soto or something like that. But like Roki would have just changed the complete narrative because he's so cheap and so affordable for such a long time and at such a young age. Yeah. That's why you saw today the talent, why a lot of teams were hot after that player.
With Roki, it's the Cubs tried. They legitimately tried, and it had nothing to do with money.
I don't
right.
No.
So it just came down to whatever team he wanted to go to.
No. It's just man.
Yeah.
That could have really changed some things around here. Now they go back to Arizona, and we'll talk about what pitching they have to face. You think the offense struggled against the Dodgers. It doesn't get easier against the Diamondbacks when the season starts stateside. But there are also roster moves to still happen. We didn't talk about it yesterday, but Keegan Thompson, the mayor, DFA'd. And, we saw Steele start today, and we talked about this, I don't know, maybe a week ago when we were starting to look at and I think Keegan Thompson probably knew it, but it looked like the numbers were going to shake out that he probably wasn't going to make this team. And it's just hard to watch sometimes. You feel for these guys because in my eyes, he was right there as a prospect with Justin Steele. In fact, he might have been ahead of Justin Steele as a prospect in some eyes. And he had those moments where, the numbers might have played in his favors. And if you really look into the analytics, maybe you say he was a little bit fortunate. But there was a time where you looked at him and were like, wow, this guy could be a weapon. This guy could be a weapon in the bullpen, or should he be a starter? And now he's DFA'd. One thing I will say about that is it's starting when guys like Brennan Davis are DFA'd and when guys like Keegan Thompson are DFA'd and other players that you had high expectations for are DFA'd, it's showing that the floor is being raised in the Cubs organization. It's disappointing, but it is long-term a positive for the Cubs organization to see that we're starting to get disappointed about guys that we thought were going to be long-term, maybe, hopefully, pieces of the team.
Yeah, I mean, Keegan Thompson was one of the few things we could talk about from 22 that was positive, that gave us some hope. I mean, we were talking about, could Steele and Thompson be in the rotation one day?
Right.
Stuff.
On the next great Cubs team, would they both be in the rotation?
And, Steele has panned out to be way better than I think a lot of us ever expected. And Thompson, I don't know what happened after 22. He was
there were some injuries. He's been hurt a lot.
Injuries, and then also his fastball velocity has dropped since then. Just ineffectiveness, got himself demoted in 23, didn't really come back up until the end of the year. And then last year, I guess he was able to be more available, and he was up and down from Iowa. It never got back to what we saw in 22. And so I guess you can confidently say he was a one-hit wonder, but
I'm also confident he will land somewhere.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he doesn't land somewhere.
He could land across town and be one of their best pitchers right now.
Yeah, he could. I feel like going to, whether it's the Sox or the Marlins or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he finds himself, because he'll have an opportunity to try to rebuild what he had.
The mayor. He was the mayor.
My favorite part of the Keegan Thompson era was for sure when he
was the mayor of Chicago. That should be the shirt.
When he threw at Andrew McCutchen and became the mayor of Chicago. That was when he became the mayor. And then he kind of just ho-hummed it and chewed some gum. That's why, if you forgot, that's why I said that, because I was like, this guy doesn't care. You throw at Wilson Contreras 1,000 times, Brewers, I'm going to throw at your guy. This is one of the more wow, that guy's got some edge. That guy's got some grit. But, whatever. He's not the worst reliever the Cubs ever had. It was very surprising to see that he got as high as he did, at least as a guy with some potential who showed that you could put out there in high leverage innings at times, or even middle relief, whatever. It was discouraging to see him be able to show that he could do all that and then fall the way he did. But it's also relievers in general, volatile, stuff like that. Never really panned out to be a starter, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see where he winds up. But
Cubs will now open stateside on the 27th. And wow, you go Yamamoto, Roki, then you go Corbin Burns, and probably Zach Gallen.
Can we do a little spin zoning?
Here's what I say. Can those games not count too?
No, they're sure.
How about the first 4 don't count?
Here's a little spin zoning for you. All right. Corbin Burns actually hasn't been that good against the Cubs over the last couple years. All right. Now, if you look at his career numbers against the Cubs, he's got a 3.20 or 3.20 earned run average over the course of his career.
Kyle Hendricks beat him once, though. I remember that.
Yeah. But in 23, he had a 4.03 or no, that's expected FIP. Sorry. He had a I'm looking at the advance. I'm on Fangraphs right now. Cubs hitters against him in 23 when he was still with the Brewers hit 261 against him in 2 games. He had a 3.75 earned run average, but Cubs hitters didn't necessarily struggle with him. 358 on base, 283 slugs, so he kept the ball in the park, or didn't a lot of extra base hits, but a 3.75 earned run average in 23. But they faced him once when they went to Baltimore last year. Remember when they went and swept the Orioles?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't very good in that start. So you want some optimism about facing Corbin Burns potentially on opening day? I actually honestly think it will be Zach Gallen, but if they do face Corbin Burns, they have seen him well the last handful of times, and I think it's largely just because he's older now and his K rate has gone down. So you want some optimism to end the show going into Arizona on opening day in a ballpark that there's just as much chaos there as there is Coors Field, it feels like. I don't know. We'll see.
Cubs are 0-2. That's the reality. They're 0-2. Now they weirdly go back to Arizona before taking a week to get over their jet lag, right?
Yeah. Well,
we'll see how it goes.
They'll get back to Arizona. Today's Wednesday, so they'll be. I think they pick games back up on. Is it on?
Well, no, the real games start again on Thursday.
Yeah, next Thursday. But they still have spring training games.
Yes.
Left, right.
Yeah.
So they have like 4 or 5 left. So yeah,
I would assume most of those spring training games are going to just have, at least early on, a lot of minor leaguers going at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect any of the regular guys to play the first couple. But I think the goal for the next week now is to just, when you get back, like try to get back into the routine that you had.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like us.
Sure, yeah.
Tomorrow, 1:30.
Yeah, right. And then we'll do that for a week, right? Where the show's at 1:30.
Then we're gonna switch our schedule again.
And then we'll switch our schedule based on when the Cubs play, right? I think the Tokyo series is great for baseball, all this and that, but for sure the downfall is related to the players and just being in an environment that is part of their routine.
Yeah. And
so I think the biggest thing over the next week for them is once they get back to Arizona, these guys like Seiya and Matt Shaw, PCA, 2 guys who were playing well in the spring but struggled in this 2-game series. Get back into whatever you were doing that before and kind of get that mindset back. And I guess you can maybe make an argument that maybe the players looked at it as, yeah, these games matter and yeah, we're going to go and try and win, but you're also in Japan and you've never been to Japan, and they shared all kinds of things on social media,
but the Dodgers players
adventuring around. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they didn't care, that they didn't try any harder than the Dodgers. The point is that you're now back in Arizona, your spring training complex, and it's back to work, and that's what your main focus is. And so I just think that once they're back in that environment, you can try and lock back in and get back to doing what you're doing. So I'm not trying to say at all that they did not care in Japan. But I'm just speaking from a human side. Like if I was on the team and I was going to Japan, I would have totally taken advantage of the aspect of being in Japan.
Sure,
like that's just a human thing.
Well, that's the point of it. I'll be honest with you. I was sort of getting into the routine of waking up at 3:50.
I was not. I cannot wait to not wake up at 3:45 in the morning tomorrow.
Thanks to everybody that joined us in the live YouTube chat. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening on podcast form if that's your thing. Hit the like button on the way out. We would enjoy that as well. Thanks to Sarah for running the 1s and 2s while she's under the weather. Right?
Yep. She does look healthier today.
She does. Back at 1:30 tomorrow with the live show right here on CHGO. And then we'll get back into Brendan and Corey on Friday, and we'll schedules are coming. We thank everybody for watching. CHGO Cubs, presented by Toyota. Cubs lose 6-3. Don't worry, they can still win 160 games this season.
160-2.
160-2. Until then, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.